Welcome into the Talking Fantasy Baseball Podcast Midweek Minutes edition on Tuesday, July 29th. My name is Eric Henriksen. On each Midweek Minutes, we'll be bringing you the biggest news and notes you need to know. But before we get started, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe. We're available on all major podcast platforms: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Amazon Music, and the Odyssey app. And give us a like, a 5-star rating, or a thumbs up. It really helps us out a lot. With that out of the way, let's jump right in. Obviously, the biggest news of the week is Aaron Judge heading to the IL, the number one player in fantasy, going to the injured list for a minimum of 10 days. Now, there is no replacement for Aaron Judge. You're not going to replace the number one player in the game. Unparalleled power. He's hitting .350, driving in runs, scoring runs like crazy. You can't replace that, especially with one player. Now, you shouldn't do anything rash. Don't go ahead and make a crazy trade. It's just 10 days. He will be back. Whether he plays the outfield or not is a different story, but that doesn't affect us in fantasy. If he's in the lineup, he's in your lineup. Simple as that. Now, you do have a hole that you need to fill in the short term. I look at a guy like Ramon Laureano. He's hot. Baltimore's offense is chugging along right now. Maybe he's a guy you want to pick up just to fill the roster spot. Of course, there's also Luis Robert. Luis Robert's been hot since the All-Star break. Bet you didn't realize that because his season-long numbers still look terrible. However, Luis Robert leads me into a discussion about moves around this time of year with the real-life trade deadline approaching. You don't know where a guy is going to get traded, especially if they're on the real-life trade block. My advice is to wait on trades at this point in the year, if you can, if it includes a player on the real-life trade block, especially relievers. But let's deal with hitters first. Luis Robert, right? He could get traded, he should get traded from the White Sox to literally anywhere else. The Mets have been mentioned as a possible destination. It's less of a problem acquiring a player like Luis Robert in a trade right now because his stock would probably only go up if he's traded to a good situation. And in fact, there is no worse situation than the White Sox. So maybe he's a guy you do want to target now, especially because he is starting to heat up. But if you've got a reliever stuck in a deal to you, or if you have a starting pitcher being offered to you, you may want to pause if you can. And here's why. Let's say you've got David Bednar in an offer to you, and Bednar, who is the closer for the Pirates right now, gets traded to a situation where he's not the closer. Well, you just acquired, if you're in a saves-only league, something fairly useless. Why would you want to do that? You don't. Right now, I have a standing offer that includes David Bednar to me. I like the starting pitcher that's coming back to me in the deal, but I can't pull the trigger because I don't know if Bednar is going to have any value coming back to me. Now, Bednar is just one example, but there are a number of other examples. There are a number of other players that you could talk about here. Ryan Helsley's been talked about a lot today specifically. If he goes to the Yankees, I doubt he's the closer because they have Devin Williams. You don't want to acquire a player whose value could change in an instant in a trade where they often have some sort of value that you're paying for. Wait, the deadline is in 2 days. Be open with the other manager. Tell them that you're being patient, that you'd like to wait just until the deadline. You don't want to do anything rash, trade away an asset that might be more valuable after the deadline, or trade for an asset that'll be less valuable after the deadline. It just makes sense to wait just a couple days if you can, as long as your league's trade deadline is after the real-life trade deadline. If it's beforehand, I can't help you. I am sorry. You just got to roll the dice. But if you can be patient, be patient. It will pay off in the end. That way you're not overspending on an asset that becomes worthless, and you're not trading away an asset that might be more valuable or just have any value relative to what you're acquiring. So I just wanted to give a little bit of advice around trades because this is the big trading window in fantasy. It's a big trade window, obviously, in real life because the deadline is in 2 days on Thursday, July 31st. And this is sort of the midweek minutes episode in between our 2-part trade deadline special. So just a little bit of advice here for you as we approach the real life trade deadline and what to do about it in fantasy. So that does it for this edition of Midweek Minutes. Josh and I will be back later this week with an all-new full-length episode. So please subscribe. We're available on all major podcast platforms: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Amazon Music, and the Odyssey app. Give us a like, a 5-star rating, a kind review. We will read them all. And if there's anything you want to talk about, drop us a message. For Talking Fantasy Baseball's Midweek Minutes, I'm Eric saying, see you next time.